What's up, guys? X Ricci here, bringing you the F1 podcast, episode 7. Lucky number 7, according to some people. It's just actually myself and Andrew today. Erica could not be here today, but she wants to say hi and thank you to the fans. And sorry, Andrew, I forgot to introduce you.
All good, sir. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend of no racing last weekend, but we're back. Thanksgiving weekend with a race, evidently enough, in Turkey.
Yeah, literally. But I was gonna ask, how was your week off? What did you or weekend off? Not having an F1 race. What did you get up to?
So I played a men's league during the summer at a golf course near London, and this past Saturday we did a Ryder Cup style format with like our men's league team. So we had 16 of us play. So 8 per side. We had shirts made up, everything. We got a trophy, and I led my team to victory 8-4. Yeah, it was pretty intense. It was a good time. I had a good feeling too. You know, you don't play that type of golf traditionally, especially with friends and whatnot. So it was a pretty fun experience. What did you get up to, Richie?
Pizza, beer, Xbox, and Seinfeld. So Seinfeld is now on Netflix, and that is a big deal because I think it came out October 1st.
That's deadly.
Yes. I'm already on season 3.
If you're having like a really slow week at work and you wanted to find something to waste your time on during the day, Seinfeld Netflix episodes are the way to go.
In the words of Jerry Seinfeld, it's a show about nothing, and I love it. But honestly, Red Dead Redemption 2, I tweeted about this. I think, honestly, it's the best video game ever created. 3 years later, I've still not finished the campaign. I don't know how many hours I put into this game, but there's just always something to do. And it's honestly like Rockstar, it's out of the park. One of the greatest games I think created.
Now, would you rather play GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2 in your time off?
Oh, geez. Okay. As much as I like the Wild Wild West, I do like the cars and it being able to drive and like planes and stuff in GTA. But I guess Red Dead Redemption is brought a new meaning of like video gaming, and just the fact that you can be on a horse and just like you're just going around horseback riding, and next thing you know, you come to some random encounter because not everyone is the same. Yeah. Some random side quests, you go hunting, you go fishing. Yeah, it's I can't wait to see if they're going to bring a Red Dead Redemption 3 or if they're ever going to make a GTA 6.
I wonder what the storyline would be for Red Dead Redemption 3, because Red Dead Redemption 2 is like the prequel to Red Dead Redemption itself, like that story. So I'm curious if they continue maybe Arthur's journey throughout, or I don't know how they would do the storyline for Red Dead Redemption 3. It'd be interesting if there was a prequel to Red Dead Redemption 2 as part of it.
Yeah, like obviously it will be a little it will be obviously interested. I'm still I'm kind of aware. I'm not going to spoil it for the pod. Like, I'm kind of aware what happens towards the end of Red Dead Redemption 2, because I did play Red Dead Redemption 1 when it came out on the 360. So kind of interesting also if GTA 6 ever comes out. But obviously we're not here to talk about video games. That's my other podcast, which I have only one episode. Today's discussion is where do we even start with Russian Grand Prix? We all called it going to be a boring race. Andrew, it was not a boring race.
It wasn't boring. Like, it was mildly boring until lap 47 came around, and then the skies opened up, and then the last 6 episodes were the most chaotic I've ever seen. Like in a while, considering that like the rain was coming in pockets too, right? So part of the track was dry, part of the track was just super soaked. So having to make the call on when to go to Inders was crazy. Max did a great job. Lewis did a fantastic job, which led him to a race. Lando, not so much.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna definitely get a little bit into that. So just to recap, as already Andrew mentioned. So we had Hamilton come 1, Verstappen 2, Carlos Sainz 3, Daniel Ricciardo 4, Valtteri Bottas 5, Fernando Alonso 6, Lando Norris P7, Kimi Räikkönen P8, Sergio Perez P9, and Mr. Saturday, George Russell, P10. So I think we've already touched base on the elephant in the room, where Lando did not decide to go into the Inters. And that actually ended up costing him significantly as the race kind of progressed in those later laps. So he opened up with Sky News, I think it was, about the toll that this season has taken on him and the mental health that it just being an F1 driver. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but you got 6 or 7 laps to go. The track's wet. You have to kind of start thinking like, maybe it's time I need to go in, and look, Lewis Hamilton was able to capitalize on an unexperienced driver and caused him and you're 34 seconds ahead, I think it was. Someone has to check that, but he was all over the place, and you knew that he was not going to hold that. He didn't know that, but he was determined. He thought that, but his team clearly didn't do it. So I think you're jumping to get into here.
No, to be honest with you, I agree with you in the sense that I just think we're just going to chalk it up to lack of experience on this one. Lando had a great race. F1 did an amazing job. They released the radio for the last 7 laps between Hamilton and Norris. And I'm going to chalk up the win, not for Hamilton, but also for Mercedes and just their experience in these moments. You can tell that, Bono was really pushing Hamilton to come in for the wets, or for the Inters at least, while a lot of the engineers at McLaren were just asking Lando questions like, do you want Inters? Do you think Inters is good? At the time, I'm pretty sure Lando's got a set. He's first place. He can get his first career win. He's gonna be a little naive. He's gonna be pushing for it. So of course, I don't blame him for saying no. And I think he'll just chalk that up to a learning experience. But I think McLaren should have done a better job of pushing him to come into the pits. Yeah, because if he could have undercutted Hamilton 1 lap early, then he still would have been in good position to win, I think, with the Inters, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the also concern was who would pit first, kind of like the chicken. I don't know what the analogy, chicken catching the egg. Oh gosh, I don't know what this analogy I'm trying to.
Well, I think it's who's gonna make the first move effectively, right?
Thank you. Yes.
And you know what? In hindsight, it should have been McLaren, because I think they would have worked the undercut no problem, because it was getting really wet. But again, you're in a position to try and win again. It's Lando's first opportunity to win. So, the P7 is a little tough for sure for McLaren fans, but I would take it as a sign of there's more positive things to come, and they're only going to learn and grow from this experience as well. So I wouldn't worry about it. McLaren fans, you are in good hands with number 4 leading the way.
He is 21 years old.
Yeah. He'll be fine, guys. He's going to be fine. He had him and his team made one mistake this weekend. It cost him 6 points, 6 places. It happens, unfortunately. This is Formula One. It's racing. Not every weekend is going to be perfect. And the more experienced team, the team that's won, multiple constructors championships, they made the right call with their experience, and, they came out on top.
And I think it goes to show that, even though we might be criticizing Lando here, he's still P4 in the driver's standing. He's still ahead of Sergio Perez.
Yeah, and a Red Bull. Also, by the way, I'm getting really pissed off with Red Bull just absolutely screwing up Sergio's races on a constant basis.
So did you know that the last 4 races, you're going to love this statistic I saw on F1, the last 4 races between Sergio Perez and George Russell, they're tied for points in the 4 races.
Yeah, which is wild. like
16.
There should be no way Perez in a Red Bull, despite Williams has done this year, which is incredible. There's no way it should be like that. Like Perez got called in late with the tire change, which knocked him down to P9. Why don't you double stack at the time? Red Bull has found a couple ways this year just to completely botch Perez's race, and it's frustrating. I think he might be being frustrated a little bit, but I can't, they understand he's got to know that Max is the number one driver, then he's fighting for the championship and his points are kind of like gravy on the side. But I think they could have, again, scored more points this weekend if they called him in earlier.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how this kind of plays out, especially as we head into Turkey. What are some other things that stood out for me? I mean,
Johnny, talk about Ferrari's performance this weekend. They were pretty good.
Yeah, I think because we're gonna get into the fan questions, and one of those is actually going to be about it. But I've been super impressed on how Carlos Sainz has been racing. He has been taking the team to new highs and keeping them competitive. Whether obviously the constructors right now is sitting at McLaren 234 and Ferrari 220. 216.5, but if Leclerc is just not competing and Carlos has just been carrying, it's kind of like was earlier in the season, Andrew, when Lando was carrying the team and Ricciardo hasn't, and it's now the P2 drivers pulling the socks. But yeah, he's clearly finding some magic in that Ferrari car, and I think Ferrari is more focused on next year's car, but it's just good to see. And I think this is his third podium of the year, third podium in a Ferrari jacket. And I really hope we can get a win this year. That would be really nice. But they're making the constructors race much more exciting than I think a lot of people anticipated. I'm going to jump into fan questions because there is a lot of fan questions that have been sent in. Also, just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. We are doing very well. I know I was posting a couple stuff about doing the F1 Breaking Point campaign. Just big shout out to everybody watching that on Twitch. And thank you, Andrew, for watching it the other night.
Before we go into fan questions, I have just a couple other highlights that I think we should point out.
I forgot about that.
One being little gamesmanship by Mercedes to, put Valtteri's another engine unit or another power unit into Valtteri's car before the race in Russia because, Max took the big grid penalty. So they try to find a way to block him and Valtteri just let him go through. I thought that was amazing. And then the meme afterwards was hilarious that he shared on his own Instagram, where it was the picture of him watching the video at, Monza. And then the pictures in the background, just all these spare engine parts. So I thought that was a little bit of gamesmanship. Not that it mattered, because Max finished P2 from P20, which is just an incredible achievement overall for the fact that he's able to do it. Got a little lucky with the rain, but I think incredible job. But I have in our preview later for Turkey, I have an interesting quorum or idea Red Bull might pull off this next week to fire back the gamesmanship.
Also, go ahead. Sorry, I totally jumped the gun.
No, I was just saying also the fact that also, Aston Martin have to pick it up. They've collided in the past two races. But the good news is the former McLaren boss, Martin Whitmarsh, I think signed a deal with Aston Martin and with their new facility. So they're going to be good next year, but they need to pick their shit up. Otherwise, it's going to be an ugly race considering they've been outscored by Williams 23-11 over the past 5 races.
Well, they've been promoting the new James Bond movie, man. That's literally just been their focus the last 2 weeks.
Honestly, they just get into car crashes like James Bond does too with each other.
Or just you see them driving the James Bond. I forget what Aston Martin.
The DB5. That is such a sexy car. Oh my god, those are one of the top dream cars I would love to drive in.
Can you imagine being Sebastian Vettel right now? It's just I don't care about wins anymore. I'm just okay driving Aston Martins for the rest of my life.
I would hope to think he still cares about wins, but yeah, team's on a position to win this year. So yeah, have fun with it while we're at it.
A couple other highlights from the race. Actually, this is not a lot of people anticipated this, but Kimi Räikkönen coming 8th. So his first points that I think of the season. No, second time, but I think that's his highest finish of the season. So good on you
on his return,
Iceman. Yeah, it was good to see. Mr. Saturday, as usual, for a 4th straight week with points. And Fernando Alonso looking really good in that Alpine car, P6. For his age, he's still kicking it. And I think that's it. So fan questions. We got actually a lot from the race. So I'm going to send the first one to you, Andrew. This is from my fantasy league. Also, I did really bad in fantasy last week, but that's another story. What is up with AlphaTauri? Started the season off so strong and they kept going down quickly and they haven't recovered. And then for those who know, Gasly came P13 and Tsunoda came P17. And if you guys remember the Italian Grand Prix, I don't even think both of them finished the race.
I just think they're a string of bad luck right now, to be honest with you. I know Gasly had contact with Stroll late in the Russian race. And that was a penalty for Stroll, but I think that kind of knocked back Gasly. I don't know. The car is not, I don't think they've caught, I think some teams have made some upgrades and they just haven't kept up with it, or the upgrades have not come out to think what they have been. But I just think they're on a little run of bad form right now.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Do you think like the focus would be towards next year?
I think that's a good point, Rigi. I think they're at a point where maybe they're starting to shift the budget for next year's car, because if you look at the standings, right, they're not close. Like they kind of they put themselves out of contention in the constructors, I think, for finishing 5th. I think Alpine just has a better car, only 19 points behind, but I think they're going to be slotting well in that 6th spot. So maybe they're just starting to allocate resources into next year's car, which I won't blame them because of all the different regulations or switches and whatnot. But, despite the fact that Gasly's had a bad run of form, he's still P9 in the constructors. So I think a top 10 finish is likely to happen. Let's see how it goes this weekend in Turkey. I think maybe they'll surprise us, but it's going to be a really intriguing story these next couple of weeks to see how well they perform.
Yeah, no, I think those are good points. I think now it's psychologically as for teams not psychologically, more strategically. It's like, should we just run off the season and just try to get a higher constructors standings point to get more money? Or should we just completely kibosh the year and just focus on next year?
I don't think Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren are going to do that, because they're just in such tight races for 1, 2, and 3, 4 that I don't think they'll. Plus, they have the factory resources necessary compared to these mid-table teams, that I think it won't matter until 2022. But I think especially with we've seen it with Haas, right? They've literally completely just, not that we're going to get any points anyways, but they just look so out of sorts and non-competitive because they're focusing on their 2022 car.
Do you think they're going to at least get 1 point this year?
No. There'd have to be 11 DNFs, and they'd have to be waiting at the back for the accident to happen on lap 1.
That's really funny. So speaking from 0 to 100, speaking about 100, we want to congratulate Lewis Hamilton on getting his 100th win as a Grand Prix driver. So just nice little clap. Huge accomplishment. First driver in F1 to accomplish that. And especially at the Russian Grand Prix in the Sochi track. Andrew, did you know that since 1913, when there's been a race in 1913, 1914, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, Mercedes has won
every single one. It's like it is like a guaranteed W for them in Russia. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to sport the Russian livery next year, because it's pretty much a home GP for them. They dominate that track. I don't understand how they do it, but they just absolutely dominate that track.
Yes, they do. That's for sure.
Okay, but so for Ricci, then, do you think? I'm gonna pose the phone question. I'm gonna pose it to you. Do you think there's going to be another racer in this lifetime to reach 100 wins? Because 100 wins to me is an incredible achievement. It's like Tom Brady in his passing yards record, and he's still an active player.
I think there's got to be a lot of variables. I think if Hamilton does retire, it opens the track. It opens the drivers to compete amongst themselves. I think the easy answer is to look at maybe Max Verstappen. And then if you think about it, how many more drivers would have been able to win championships if Lewis Hamilton wasn't around? Like, we had 2008 in his first season that he won the championship, where he won by 1 point against Felipe Massa. And it's just like these small little races or moments in the race, it could have changed the whole altar. But yeah, I think, is it possible 100? I think if Max Verstappen keeps this form for the next 10, 15 years and able to get like 5 or 6 wins a year, and then it just continues to add up, I think that's definitely possible. Like I don't see Sebastian Vettel getting maybe unfortunately not winning. I don't think he's going to win another race anytime soon. And that's just the reality, because I know he's number 3 in the standings. I think it all depends. If Hamilton retires, then it can open up the track for more people to win. But I think the easy answer is Max Verstappen, just how he's racing, how he's able to win. And you can even see this year, him winning more races than he did last year. Because Red Bull has been able to kind of really compete this year with Mercedes and make it much more of an interesting season, as we like to say.
So I guess my secondary question to this, because I've seen this in golf, right? Yeah. Since Tiger Woods left, right? It kind of opened up the playing field for kind of everybody to win. But as a result, there's not been one person to really dominate the sport. It kind of flip-flops every year, right? So, and you can kind of see this in F1 right now, where I think once Hamilton leaves, you have guys like George Russell, Pierre Gasly in a better car, assuming. You have guys like Mick Schumacher, who could, go through the Ferrari ranks, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz on his end of his career. Landon Norris, who's 21. Like, there's just a lot of good competition. So do you think it's going to be like he can still reach that 100 with like that increased competition? Or do you think it's more so just going to be like, it depends. It'll all be dependent on the car, because I think Max has been able to showcase that he can take a lesser car than Mercedes and really make it shine.
A Formula One without Lewis Hamilton. I just that is going to be interesting. Even if we put him at the back of the grid or give him a 20-second penalty, he still finds his way on the podium. Yeah. I think he'll definitely. Well, will it be competitive? Yes. I think. I also want to see like how Mercedes is gonna do as a team without Lewis Hamilton. So like when he eventually retires, like who will take his position? But I think you'll get those flare-ups. Like 1 year maybe McLaren wins, 1 year Red Bull wins, 1 year Ferrari wins. I feel like it's gonna kind of go into like a ladder. I personally don't see
that. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I personally don't see like a team dominating for the next generation as Mercedes did for last since 2014. No, yeah,
2014. Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo, P4. Clearly this summer break has been very helpful for him.
Yeah, I think he's just able to clear his mind. I think he even said on some interviews that he kind of just forgot about the sport for 2 weeks, which I think was a great idea. Just considering, especially like when you're getting constantly beat up like that, prior to, right, in that triple header, it was some bad results for him in that triple header before the summer break. So I think he's been able to really just kind of clear his mind. And I think, He's smiling around the paddock. He's really happy. Just the old Daniel Ricciardo's kind of back, and he's had some really good showings these last few races. Winning in Monza, it was P4 last week. So it's really good to see Danny Rick come back and be the driver that I think he still can be.
Yeah, and especially if Lewis Hamilton retired, like I'm not saying that Ricciardo could ever go to Mercedes, but just like the competitiveness that he's showing in the McLaren car now, that's just another window of him coming. Do I say 100 race? Maybe like can win a couple, and maybe I don't know how many races he has now. I think he has
7 or 8.
Yes, I'm gonna say 7.
Or no, he had 7 before his. I think he had 7 before his win in Monza.
8. He has 8.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe he can be able to get to like the 15 or the 20s, but we'll see. So we highlighted a very interesting Russian Grand Prix. What are your thoughts going into Turkey now? I think.
First of all, thanks to all the fans for the questions.
Yes. Oh, that's always important. Fans, thank you so much for these questions. These have been really great, and especially a crazy race like that opens a can of worms of questions. So please keep posting them in the comments.
Yeah, we love questions.
Erica's not here, but she loves the questions. So she just wants to she just texted me telling me loves the questions.
You'll never question her dedication to Lando, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's already, for those guys know, she's already made her predictions for next week. She's saying Max, Hamilton, and Norris. So she's still keeping on the same pattern. So I think all the questions that is focusing on in Turkey is Total Wolf says DNFs are going to be a no-go going forward. That right. If Hamilton, or an accident like that happens again, it's pretty much the race. The season's over for Hamilton.
So I've also read a little report saying that Hamilton might be taking his power unit penalty this week in Turkey.
Are they that confident to do that?
He was hinting at it potentially. I want to find this report again. Also, like, look at the fact Hamilton during this week decided to go to Paris and party with the PSG players, like Mbappe and Neymar. Like, well, this guy lives the dream. Wins his 100th race. He's got a race this weekend, but he says, "Nah, screw it. I'm gonna go party in Paris." Did you see his Instagram post? It was in Paris. They call me Louis. I was like, what a stud.
I don't know. I think there was some funny F1 troll post, but I can't think of any of it to make fun of that post. But yeah, just living the life after your 100th win.
So sorry, back to my point. So
yes.
According to Sky Sports News by Matt Mordledge, there was an article saying that Mercedes is considering Lewis Hamilton engine penalty at Istanbul as the battle is going to heat up. It's a possibility considering that Verstappen took the penalty, recovered back from 20th last week to 2. My question is, does Red Bull pull the reverse gamesmanship and have Perez take a power unit penalty and go right above Lewis and trying to block his way up the field?
I mean, I think that's a no-brainer, because at least if you have somebody in the back trying to compete or trying to stop, like similar to what like Fernando Alonso was doing back in the French Grand Prix, was at least holding Hamilton up, because if he didn't have that type of defense, defensive driving, like we saw like that race, then Hamilton would have easily caught up to Ocon. So,
in Budapest, yeah.
Oh, wow. Sorry, Budapest. My apologies. I don't know why I was thinking the French Grand Prix.
No worries.
Yes. So I think that's a no-brainer, Andrew. I'd be curious to see how Red Bull responds after last week's race. Can Ferrari keep up this thunder? Like, or does Lando do a 100 or 180 and just totally come back and amazes us all?
It's weird because in a way too, I think Ferrari could have a good weekend this week, with Carlos doing what he's doing, but also I think Leclerc had a new power unit put in last race. some new hybrid engine that Ferrari's had, and apparently it's supposed to be pretty good from what I think it's all considered. But Turkey's a weird one because last year it just rained the entire time, and it was good for Lance because Stroll was able to get pole, but in the race, Hamilton really was able to manage his inners. I think he was on it for like 50 laps, and then they ended up taking it home for the victory last year, which ended up winning his.
He won the title.
He won the title
that
there.
Race.
So he won't win it this year, unfortunately for him. But I'm really curious to see if he does take that penalty. What does Red Bull do to respond? And then Ferrari had a really good showing here last year. I think they had third and fourth.
So yeah, they Vettel had third and Leclerc had fourth.
Leclerc was in second, and he kind of screwed up and he dropped back. Or no,
he locked up.
Yeah, he locked up and he kind of screwed it up. But again, this could be. I really don't know what's going to happen this year at Turkey because last year was wet. I hear the tarmac's pretty slippery there anyways, so it should be a really interesting Grand Prix. I think you kind of have to go, if Hamilton does take the engine penalty, I think he can get up there, but I don't think he's going to win the race. I think, Max will probably be likely the favorite then at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it'd be nice to see Ferrari have a good week. And I think Lando needs a bounce back week for sure to build his confidence back up, I think, as well.
Yeah, and especially that Carlos Sainz also came P5. So, it went Hamilton, Perez, Vettel, Leclerc, Sainz, then Verstappen. So, especially that top six, anything can happen.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this week?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I'm curious to see if Mercedes can pull it off again. I feel like they are the favorites going into this week, just based on just the sheer dominance. Capitalizing on errors of young drivers. I don't really know much about the Turkey track itself, so this is kind of what will be a little bit of a learning curve. Like I did watch last year's race, but I actually don't even know what the weather's going to be like this weekend. So, I think my prediction is going to be Hamilton 1. I'm going to go Verstappen 2, and I'm going to go Sainz 3. I just think he's got a little fire in him, and he's really proving that the red looks good on him. And he's been able to really pull it off.
For this weekend. So if we're going to go by, I'm going to assume that they're going to take their grid penalty this weekend in Turkey, because once that happens, I think it's a triple header coming up I think it's US, Mexico, Brazil. Very fast tracks too. So it would behoove, I think, Mercedes just to take the penalty now so that they have a really fresh engine for those quick tracks. Circuit of the Americas at Dromos in Mexico City, and then as well as Interlagos as well. So I think, assuming they take the penalty this week, I'm going to go Max 1, kind of beef it back up to James, but I am going to go Lewis 2. I think Lewis is going to kind of do the same thing as Max did last week, go from P20 to P2. And then my third, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go Carlos Sainz, because I really think that Ferrari has a dominant weekend here. But watch out for Leclerc as well, because he could finish in the top 5.
Yeah, especially like how they were able to race last year. Actually, I'd be curious to know what the weather is this weekend. I actually really haven't checked. So, nope, I can't do it off the top of my head. Okay, anyways, on that note, I think that gives us just our preview and our synopsis of what we think is going to happen this weekend. Do you have any last thoughts kind of going into the weekend, Andrew? I think we touched based on a lot, but I just want to kind of open the floor and see if there's anything last, even if it's not this race or just in general. I want to party with Lewis Hamilton. Who wouldn't?
I think this is a good opportunity for Red Bull, especially if the Mercedes takes an engine penalty this week. They really need to finish up in the top. Both of them need to finish in the top 5 to close it on the constructors, because I think we're at a point where we keep saying that No, they'll do it next race. They'll do it next race. They'll do it next race. Well, come a point in time when that next race does not happen. So I think it needs to start this weekend in Turkey. They have the team to do it. And I think that this weekend is going to be key, especially if Hamilton knocks himself out early, put him in P20 for the engine penalty. They need to have a tremendous showing in order to win the constructors this weekend. So I think this is a big weekend for Red Bull. It's also a big weekend for Ferrari to close that gap as well for third place.
I think there's going to be a lot to watch for on Sunday, and I get your popcorn ready because F1's back after a nice break, and then we're just going to get right back into it. I think that's everything what we have for this week's episodes. Episode 7. Wow. We're on episode 7. We're getting close to double digits.
Keep it up.
Hamilton's got 100. We got 7. We're kind of there.
Almost okay, there. We'll get to 100. I guarantee we'll get to 100.
Maybe we'll have guests by that. Maybe Hamilton will come join the pod. We'll see.
That'd be pretty cool.
Fingers crossed. CC Lewis Hamilton. Anyways, it is X Ricci here. Thank you guys so much for the support with my amazing co-host Andrew.
Peace out, everybody.
And obviously Erica too, but she obviously couldn't make it to this week's episode, but she will be in episode 8. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like us on YouTube, like me on Twitch, and we're also on SoundCloud. So if you can't listen to the pod on YouTube, you go check it out on Twitch. It's not Twitch, on SoundCloud. And again, happy Tuesday, and we'll see you guys after the race next week.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Booyah.